Okay, guys, look, I'm still really upset about that Western Sydney Wanderers performance. That was pretty abysmal. But big game coming up now against the Phoenix. We beat them twice last season. We've got to keep that record up. They haven't got Alex. They haven't got Zavada. Let's fresh them. I want to stay unbeaten in my managerial career against Chiefy and the Phoenix. Make sure it happens.
There's a party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 14 of this New Zealand Builder Nation here on Sean Does FM with both the All Whites on the international stage and AFC Auckland in the A-League. Coming today, hopefully we're actually going to score some goals unlike what happened in yesterday's episode. First up, we should do that when we take on the Wellington Phoenix in the New Zealand derby at Sky Stadium, and then off the back of taking on the Dandenong Thunder in the Australian Cup, we take on the two-time defending champions, the Cenral Coast Mariners, the only team that beat us both times last season. So if you're looking forward to those two games coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but as mentioned earlier, yesterday's episode wasn't a great one in terms of our form here at AFC Auckland. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. 0-0 ball draw when we took on Western United, and off the back of that, we lost 2-0 away at Marco Rudan's Western Sydney Wanderers. A bit of poor form for the first time this season, either side of transfer deadline day and an international window where thankfully we picked up some wins with the All Whites. Really the only thing that went right during the course of yesterday's episode, but thankfully since then we've played one game in the A-League and did pick up a 2-0 win at home over the Perth Glory. One goal in each half in this game. The first one came 10 minutes shy of half-time off the back of a corner. Goes back there to Taran. Jello gets in the way and claims that one, which did seem like a very poaching thing to do. But Jello did get awarded that goal about 10 minutes into the second half this time. Taran does get a goal, puts that one away, top left corner, first time finish from that ball from Teo Atema. And that was a pretty comfortable 2-0 win at home over the Perth Glory. Stats-wise, slightly on top, twice as many shots, only one more on target, but thankfully the Perth Glory didn't offer too much in terms of attack, and we get back on track there with a 2-0 win. And what that does to the A-League table, we are still down in fourth off the back of that poor episode yesterday, 6 points behind the Mariners, albeit with a game in hand. If we win this one over the Phoenix, which you'd like to think we'd do considering they are currently in a bit of an automatic relegation battle. We'll see how long that lasts. They were in that sort of similar situation last season, but found some good form late on, albeit this season missing the likes of Alex Paulson. Of course, he's with us, and also they did let go of Oscar Zavada, but at the moment, on that current position, down in 14th, you'd like to think this is a team we can beat, and hopefully, off the back of this, they can then find some form to make sure we are going to keep two New Zealand teams in the top division here of this Australian pyramid. But the Phoenix so far haven't been very good in this save, and you'd like to think we should keep having the better of them like we did last season. Hopefully we can actually beat them every time now after we did it both times in our first season of this save. But I think it's fair to say they're a bit weaker looking than they were last season with those departures, as I said earlier, of Paulson and Zavada in particular. But away from home, this could be tricky, especially because last season took two late goals for us to come back and pick up a 3-2 win. We'll see how this one goes at Sky Stadium. Unfortunately, still missing Ronaldo. He'll be out for 8 more days to 2 weeks with that torn groin muscle he suffered in that first game during yesterday's episode against Western United. So it does mean still missing the best player in the A-League. But apart from that, no other injuries that we do have to deal with for this first game in today's episode, and hopefully throughout the course of today's episode. So we'll get straight into the action and come back shortly from Sky Stadium and hopefully keep up our unbeaten record against the Wellington Phoenix in the New Zealand derby. And here are the team sheets for this first New Zealand derby of the second season of this save. They're the Wellington Phoenix going with a 4-4-2. Lots of young promising players in that lineup, and to be fair, a couple on my radar for All White selection. We've got a couple of changes these days. Tamar over Sullivan in the DM role, also Jello over Gianni at striker, and outright not Sinclair, but Ihataran without Ronaldo. Ihataran attribute-wise should be better. So a couple of changes to our usual first choice 11, but hopefully we can continue our dominance over the Knicks. And a very early highlight here in our favour, Hitaran here with a free kick. He'll try and put this away with his left foot, tries to curve that one top left corner, forces a decent save there out of Jalabak in goal, the import who they did bring in as first choice after they let Alex Paulson on a free transfer come to us. Off the back of that save, a corner, and Tormain goes down in the box off the back of a tackle by Ben of Binking. He might be on the golf course there, able to do some dodgy stuff. The penalty gets awarded. What am I talking about? Golf's not that filthy. But Tormain, after earning the penalty, will get a chance here to put one away early and give us a 1-0 lead. Jalabak goes the right way, but can't stop that one. Goveen Tormain, with his 5th goal this season, yet again, looks like he's going to be a very important player for us here at AFC Auckland so far. I'd say the player of the save, and thankfully, he gives us an early 1-0 lead. And very little has happened off the back of that early penalty. No highlights since then, so we are holding on to a 1-0 lead here, a couple of minutes shy of half-time, albeit another free kick here for Hitaran. Very, very similar spot to where that first one was, and yet again Jalabak makes a save, and yet again we will have a corner, I promise. This is not a replay. We are on the 43-minute mark, but Debungo this time floats that into the mixer. Mitchell tries to claim it, but Sloan Rodriguez will head that one away. Now Elliott on the ball. That highlight stops. Still 1-0 going in to half-time, albeit a very, very late highlight here. Over added time that was supposed to be. Now Jello is on the ball, starts to cut inside. Will take on the shot, but unfortunately that one goes high and wide. And that is the first half. 3 highlights, all in our favour, thankfully. Got a penalty early on, and Goveen Tormain did put that one away, so we go into the sheds with a 1-0 lead. And to be fair, everyone out there on a decent rating as well, so I don't think going to need to make any changes here going into the second half at the moment. Feels like we're well on top. Hopefully we can grab a cushion goal just to make sure of it and pick up yet another win in a New Zealand derby. And just coming up to the hour mark, it's still 1-0, just those 3 highlights in the first half, but a couple of players on average ratings. Debungo at left back not doing too well today. Nathan Lobo can come on for him. Also Jello going fairly on a 6.5 for Brion Gianni. And hopefully they can help us grab a cushion goal as it's still just 1-0. And a couple of minutes off the back of those changes, actually a free kick here to the Wellington Phoenix. Tim Payne goes kind of close there, top right corner, but it does go over the bar. It's still 1-0. And might be coming up now to be the time for us to make another substitution. And we might make all 3, seeing as we are about to enter the last 15 minutes. We're going to be on here Zumi for Malk going fairly, also Negro for Elliott for the same reason. And with our last substitution, we might bring on here Victor Ross in place of Lucas Nunez, who has been a bit injury prone of late. We'll give him a rest. There'll be all our subs used, and we're still only 1-0 up. And very short off the back of those last couple of subs, yet again a free kick here. And I think Mohamed Hitaran yet again will be standing over this one, seeing as it's a very similar spot to those 2 free kicks that we did see in the first half. In fact, not. It's Tormain this time. He tries to put this one top right corner instead. Yellowback comes up with a save, and then Sermon heads it back. Yellowback can make a kind of save there on what could have been an own goal. We're about to make our way into the last 10 minutes. Might be time for us now to start time wasting, just to make sure we hold on to our 1-0 lead. Albeit with 5 minutes left of regular time in this one, there is a free kick here to the Phoenix, who, to be fair, have had a couple of chances in the second half. I say a couple. That one highlight to Tim Payne from the free kick, but good interception there from Nathan Lobo before that ball can get to Ben Oldazumi. Nice ball forward there for Bazookas. That one comes off the post. Maybe could have taken that one close to the goal. Did look like he was in behind there, but maybe didn't quite have the pace on those Phoenix defenders. With now 4 minutes of added time, thankfully the Phoenix so far 6 shots, but none on target, make that 7. And we get through this one. They eventually get a shot on target. We don't see it, and that is full time eventually. Felt like that one went a little bit over the time that was scheduled. Alex Paulson gets man of the match, which is a bit weird when the Phoenix had 1 shot on target and we didn't see it. But to be fair, that's happened quite a bit. We've taken on Adelaide United so far in this save with Joe Gauchi, but thankfully got a bit of a soft penalty early through Goveen Tormain off the back of one of a couple of free kicks that we did get in this game. He tucks it away, and from there, felt like we had the ascendancy in this one, but unfortunately didn't grab a cushion goal. So currently a little bit of a goal scoring drought, it feels like, without Ronaldo at AFC Auckland, but thankfully back on track, back-to-back wins in the A-League, and we make it 3 straight wins in the New Zealand derby. 1-0 over the Wellington Phoenix. And we are back, and here are the highlights from the Cup game that we did play in between the two games I'm going to show you in the A-League in today's episode. Early chance here for Gavin Tormeen, and thankfully from that long ball over the top from Louis Toomey, he did put that one away. He was the only player from our regular first choice 11 who did start in this Cup game. Then, with 10 minutes to go in the first half, Azumi off the back of that ball from Negro makes it 2-0. We did bring on Cullen Elliott at halftime, seeing as Negro was on that yellow card. He's on the ball here, plays a lovely through ball, and Bazookas picks up a goal. Unfortunately, before getting injured later in the game, that's going to impact us for the Central Coast one. Unfortunately, though, they did grab one back late here. Did the Dandenong Thunder, good finish there from Dover from just outside the box, but thankfully a pretty comfortable 3-1 win at home in the third round of the Australian Cup. It does mean we are through to the next round of that competition. As you can see, pretty comfortable stats in that game. Got about what we deserved based on XG. Yet again, like last time, we have bought the rights to host the next round in that competition to make sure that both teams do get a bit more money. This time, took a screenshot so you can see the prompt when it does come up. And we are going to be taking on the Manningham United Blues. They are down further than what the Dandenong Thunder were, so you'd like to think that is another very winnable game for us yet again at Mount Smart. Should be a chance for us to play our rotation players. So we might go on a little bit of a cup run this season, albeit I think the board do expect us to reach the later stages, which I'm pretty sure does mean the quarterfinals still a little way away from that. Still quite a few teams left in that competition. And as I said, unfortunately, did pick up an injury in that one. Gianni Bazookas, he twisted his ankle, out for 2 to 5 weeks. So it does mean currently we have to call up a striker from the under-19s. To be fair, not a bad one. It is Matthew de Hotham de Villiers. It's a bit of a mouthful, but he's quite a promising striker, formerly of Melville United. He'll be on the bench as our backup striker option in behind Hassan Jallo for the second game of today's episode, and for a little while Bazookas does recover from that injury. But next up today, we take on the Central Coast Mariners at Mount Smart Stadium. These guys beat us both times last season, which was a bit frustrating. Just going to try and find here the data hub. There it is there, and previous meetings. We lost 2-1 at Mount Smart and 2-1 over at the Central Coast. So the same scoreline both times. We did keep it close, but unfortunately, those results were the key factors in those guys beating us to the title last season. Hopefully this time we can try and get back on track somewhat off the back of some scratchy performances and pick up a win. But to be fair, so far, these guys have been in excellent form. 8 games, 7 wins, 1 draw, and that draw that did come against the Western Sydney Wanderers, the team that beat us 2-0 in yesterday's episode. And they come into this one off the back of a 7-0 win in the third round of the Australian Cup. These guys do look like they are in a bit more goal-scoring form than we are without Ronaldo, but hopefully we can find a way to grab something from this game and hopefully keep up with them on top of the A-League table. We'll come back shortly and hopefully finally take some points off the Mariners as we take them on at Mount Smart. And here are the team sheets for the second game of today's episode. There we are, a couple of changes from that first game. As I said, on the bench, de Hotham de Villiers for the injured Bazookas, but also Adam Mitchell, a little bit injury prone going into this game, so Victoros can start in his place. Central Coast in great form. They are going with the 4-3-3, and hopefully we might be able to draw level with them on top of the A-League. And it's taken until the half-hour mark for the first highlight of this game. It is a corner to Central Coast so far, both teams with just 1 shot each, but they are on the attack here through Kuol. It goes back to Hall. He squares that one nicely for Marco Tullio these days, the second best player in the A-League, but of course Ronaldo's not currently fit, so he is, I suppose, the best, and he shows it there, puts that one away. To be fair, we're supposed to be tightly marking him. Didn't look like it. From that highlight, Kuol controls the ball as we can't quite clear it well off the back of that corner, and Tullio, that's just way too much space right in front of goal. Right centre tucks that one away in the top left corner. And with the first highlight, we go 1-0 down to what's starting to become our bogey team in the save, albeit a few minutes later. We are now on the attack. Mohamed Hataran on the front foot there down that right-hand side, but unfortunately, a bit of a soft shot. It's easily saved by Franco, and it remains 1-0 to the Mariners. And one more highlight here in this first half, a couple of minutes shy of halftime, and it is a free kick here in our favour. Hopefully can find a way to square things up here just before half time and try and give ourselves a chance of picking up 3 points from this game. To be fair, against the Mariners, I think would take anything the way they're going this season. Callum Elliott, from a tight angle, does take on the shot. Maybe they should look to square that, as we had some players on the overlap, but to be fair, Central Coast might have had someone in the way, so they could have defended it well, but now a corner, can't quite find someone initially, and Victoros there does get that ball robbed from him. That will be that highlight. We are actually on the front foot based on overall shots on target, and I think possession we should be on top of. In fact, we're not. That's a bit rare for us. Pretty even game, but unfortunately Central Coast, that really good chance through Marco Tullio. They did put away quite a few players out there on poor ratings, in particular Tormin and Hassan Jallo, but given our lack of bench options with the injuries to Ronaldo and also Bazookas, do feel like we'll just try and give the boys a bit of a rev up here at halftime and hopefully get something out of them going into the second half. Definitely still in this game, but we are 1-0 behind. And about 10 minutes into the second half, first highlight here, and yet again a corner in favour of the Mariners. Hopefully we can hold on from this. They take it short. Tullio to Theo Helaus. Now Steele outside the box will pick out Tullio, and he puts that one away past Paulson. I think he was onside, unfortunately. We'll just wait and see here, but that could be a second goal for Tullio and the Central Coast Mariners. If that's the case, I think it's going to be time for us here to make some changes. Both wing backs struggling and our guys up front. And unfortunately, he was onside. Marco Tullio tearing us a new one here at Mount Smart. Makes it 2-0, maybe proving a point for when Ronaldo does come back. I'm still the best player in the league, but that is not ideal. We're going to have to stage a big comeback here at home, and with only 35 minutes left off the back of that, we are going to make some changes. Both our wing backs are struggling, so Negro and Lobo can come on for them. Just had to change the order a bit here because only 5 subs in the cup game that you can select from, and only able to use 3 of them. De Hotman de Villiers can make his debut up front, and also Jack Henry Sinclair for Tormin Ahitaran can go out left. So 4 changes as we try and come back from a 2-0 deficit, and we'll also go a bit wider, try and change things up and attack off the back of that buffer goal. And just making our way into the last half hour of this game, Taylor Tamer, they are telling us will get suspended if he picks up another yellow card. If they go 3-0 up here, Central Coast, we might actually take him off. And Kuol does get in behind. He beats Alex Paulson. And this is not going well. A 3-0 deficit now that we face. And I think it might be time for us now to take off a Tamer just to make sure no suspensions picked up from this one, because it doesn't look like we're going to turn things around. This is up there for our worst performance so far of the save. Maybe having no Mitchell is proving a bit of a difference maker, as well as Ronaldo, but unfortunately that ball over the top there does catch out our centre backs, and as mentioned before, we'll make that final sub, but things not going well. Also, we'll try and go attacking fully and see if we can grab some consolation goals in this last half hour, maybe come back and get something out of this game, but not looking likely as we're 3-0 behind. Now, a couple of minutes off the back of that third goal to the Central Coast, we try and get on the front foot there now that we have gone a bit more attacking. Sullivan, fresh off the bench, plays that one back to Nunez at centre-back. As I said before, maybe missing the leadership of Adam Mitchell in a game like this, because that's definitely a difference from the previous game. Might have had more of an impact than I thought, but Lobo starts a cut inside, floats that far post for Stefan Malk. His header goes just wide, and we're still 3-0 behind. And about to make our way into injury time in this one, and unfortunately going a bit more attacking hasn't worked, albeit just realised I actually stayed on positives. That was a stuff up by me, albeit don't know if it's had much impact on the result of this one. 3-0 the Central Coast, just too good for us. Yet again, definitely our bogey team so far in the save and poor pass there. And now Josh Nisbet with a chance to do something on the counter-attack. Tullio going hat-trick hunting, does take on the shot, but thankfully it's a bit weak. And Alex Paulson, he can make the save, but despite the fact we have more shots overall, just one less on target, the Central Coast beat us 3-0. That does feel, based on stats, a little bit harsh, but to be fair, they had a lot more highlights than we did. Marco Tullio and Kuol up front, just far too good for us in this one. Our defence did struggle a bit without Adam Mitchell. Maybe that was more costly than I thought it was going to be, but that was a really poor result. We're going to rip into the boys off the back of that. A 3-0 defeat yet again a game that we haven't scored a goal in, so also might be missing Ronaldo a little bit. De Hotman de Villiers made his debut, unfortunately couldn't score a goal, and we dropped down to third on the table off the back of that 3-0 humbling. So another poor result for us there against one of the teams that were challenging us for the title last season. That one, the worst one we've had so far in this save. 3-0 loss to the Cenral Coast Mariners at home. Maybe need to start thinking if the vertical tiki-taka is the right tactic to use when we do take on those big teams who are going to be a bit of a threat to us. To be fair, it's working quite well for a team that are expected to be finishing around mid-table this season, but still maybe a bit of a change wouldn't be the worst idea. We'll see how our form does go off the back of this. Maybe need to try out the 4-2-3-1 gegenpress that we're using with the All Whites. Also, before we get to that, here are the results from the other fixtures on that match week. The Phoenix do get themselves out of the automatic relegation zone with a win there away at the Melbourne Victory, which to be fair is a bit surprising as those guys are hot on our heels. And also on the Sunday, the Perth Glory just do enough. Do beat Sydney Olympic, but we're going to talk about now the national team before we end things for today's episode, because coming up before we come back for tomorrow's episode, the last one of the week, we have got another international break. This one, our final one before World Cup qualifying starts. And as you can see, this time we have again scheduled some away friendlies, but we are going to Asia instead of Africa. First up, a game we should absolutely be winning. We take on Yemen, those guys all the way down in 154th on the world rankings. A reminder, New Zealand currently, we are ranked in 92nd. So you'd like to think we can win that one and might be able to rest some of our big players before we play the next friendly off the back of that, because that one is against Oman and those guys are in 89th, so a team ranked above us. If we can knock those guys off, that might see us rise up the world rankings just a little bit before we do get stuck in to our World Cup qualifying, albeit you'd like to think we'll get through that nice and safely as we do take on teams we dealt with in the AFC Nations Cup. Papua New Guinea and Tahiti are in our group, but that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, a bit of a bad ending there, a 3-0 defeat to the Cenral Coast Mariners, but thankfully before then did pick up that 1-0 win over the Phoenix to make sure that we do stay undefeated in the New Zealand derby. If you enjoyed today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow. I'm not really too sure who our biggest threat is coming up. Actually, I see it now. It might be Sydney FC up in second, just above us on the table. So we might come back for that game to end this week. And also, before then, we can do a bus trip as we take on the Newcastle Jets over at the McDonald Jones Stadium. We'll see what that looks like. Yet another venue in the New South Wales state. So I think those are the two games we'll come back for in tomorrow's episode. Hopefully in between now and then we can get the job done over Melbourne City, who are currently in an automatic relegation spot. That's actually something I forgot to mention at the start of the week. They offered me a job interview during the off-season, of course. I turned it down, but it looks like their new manager not doing a very good job in Shin Tae-yong, the South Korean, formerly the Indonesian manager. So they're struggling. Would like to think we can beat them, and the Brisbane Roar, they're a bit better, but at Mount Smart, hopefully we can get the job done over them before we come back for that double tomorrow. And also in between then, we should be winning in that fourth round of the Australian Cup as well. But until tomorrow, to end the week with Newcastle and Sydney, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.